Hey guys, Bidu here to tell you about the latest from Paradise Lost, Ascension, out September 19th on Nuclear Blast. The album has 10 tracks, 51 minutes in length, and this is the band's 17th full-length studio album. They are a UK doom metal band. From a design standpoint, I felt like the overall structure of this record really enhanced two different characteristics of this album. At first glance, it showcases the versatility of the record, the diversity that exists from song to song, both sonically and vocally. This to me is really important aspect of the album because it's something that really defines what this whole album is all about. On the other hand, it also showcases what brings these songs together, what connects them, what are the common denominators throughout all 10 tracks. This allows the album to be versatile on one hand, but still be very cohesive on the other. Really bringing together two different ideas, two different perspectives, but blending them almost as one, making this one of the most dynamic and fluid records that I've heard from Paradise Lost in a very long time. As far as the sound is concerned, this is definitely a mixture of goth, doom, and even some elements of death metal are present on this record. It's not an album that stays consistent as far as those influences are concerned. So when you listen to this record, you're going to go through peaks and valleys that are going to have different textures, different sounds, different outcomes. So it's not an album that has just one experience throughout. This allows the album to have a much richer sound. It allows the album to also have a more textured sound all around. The band can do a lot more from a creativity standpoint, and it doesn't feel necessarily boxed in when all the songs have to have not necessarily a similar dynamic, but a similar outcome. This album has a lot of different outcomes depending on where you are. Sometimes more methodic, sometimes a little faster, a little bit more rock and roll, then bringing in a lot of darkness, creating more of a goth vibe, then taking back again into a very doom atmosphere. The album is almost like a living organism from track to track, and the sound really enhances all of that with great production behind it, allowing you to see all of the different layers. A couple of elements within the sound really spoke to me. First and foremost, the guitar sound. Excellent guitar sound throughout. I think this is a very guitar focused, a very guitar centric album through and through. And it's not necessarily a guitar centric album where the tonality of the guitar stays consistent or where the impact of the guitars is very uniform from front to back. This album also has a lot of life in terms of how the guitars are layered, how they're textured, and how they're presented. I really enjoy that aspect of the album because it allowed the record to have a little bit more depth. It allowed the album to feel a little bit wider and not necessarily very streamlined and very narrow. The quality of the execution in terms of the melodies, the riffs, and everything else around it is at a very high level. The solos on this record are phenomenal. Phenomenal. They add life to the songs. They add energy to the songs in certain cases. And in certain cases, they also bring darkness to the tracks. Solos that understand the vibe, the mood, the atmosphere of the song, and try to enhance it and take it into a different level. I honestly felt like the overall guitar work on this album is excellent, and the solos is just one of those huge pieces of the puzzle. Another element of this record that I really enjoyed is the overall drum sound and the overall drum experience. In some tracks feeling quite heavy, adding a big punch, a big kick to the overall sound of the tracks, and then there's certain songs where they're there in order to create a little bit more depth, create a little bit more width, making the songs a little bit wider. But overall, the quality, the warmth, the embrace that the guitars offer this record stays very consistent. The sound, the heaviness, the width changes from track to track depending on what the demands of the song are. But the overall embrace that they offer on every single song, that stays extremely consistent throughout the entire record. Once you get into the vocals, the vocal performance is as versatile as the sound is. A mixture of cleans, harsh, but even within those two styles, you're gonna have different perceptions of what the vocals are offering. Sometimes a little bit deeper, a little bit heavier, a little bit harsher, sometimes clean, sometimes a little bit melancholic clean. There's just very different tonalities in very different places where the vocals hit within the overall mix, depending on the song and depending on the needs of the tracks. So like I said, the vocal performance on this album is excellent, and it is very versatile to adapt to the overall versatility that the record has within its sound, making this a very dynamic and rich album, more so than Obsidian. Obsidian to me was a very consistent record that at times it almost felt linear in terms of the experience that you got in the beginning of the record stayed very consistent throughout. This album is very different. The versatility of the record is definitely the thing that rises to the surface, and it's immediately obvious to the listener that this album is not going to have a linear path from beginning to end. It's going to have a lot of peaks and valleys, it's going to move a lot, and for a doom, goth, rock, metal album, because those elements of sound are definitely the predominant factors on this record, this album moves a lot better than what a traditional album, specifically doom record, would move. This album has a lot more fluidity, and it comes from that versatility, and then obviously how that versatility is showcased in the overall track listing of this record. As far as favorite songs are concerned, I want to start off with Tyrants Serenade. This track has the perfect title, specifically when it gets into the serenade part, because it really feels like it. It has a great opening riff, and the fact that that riff becomes the spinal cord of the track is very important. It's a song that's methodic but not slow moving. It has a little bit of movement to it, but it just moves methodically. It's more open vocally than it is sonically, specifically when it comes into the verses. But then the chorus really opens up with a more open riff, with a more open sound. The harsh vocals come in to impact what the clean vocals are already there doing, and this adds a lot more layers, it adds a lot more texture, and makes the track feel a little bit bigger. The combination of both clean and harsh vocals in the chorus really emphasizes the climax that the chorus becomes for the overall design and structure of this song, and it allows the clean vocals that are already present in the verses to kind of go from in the forefront to a layer beneath it. Really interesting. The elements are all there. They're just trading places depending on where you are within the track. Same thing for that main guitar riff, that main guitar sound, that melody. It trades places at times from being more in the forefront to becoming more of a layer. It's a track that has a sense of heaviness to it in the sound. There's definitely a sense of heaviness, but it's also a sense of darkness. It's a very dark feeling song, and I love the fact that that melodic riff that opens up the track stays there. It becomes, like I said, the spinal cord, allowing heavier guitar sounds to come on top, allowing heavier drums to come on top, creating a very interesting textured sounded track from start all the way to the end. Then you have Salvation. Salvation starts off with really powerful drums, and those powerful drums really become a little bit of the essence of this track. This track is way more methodic than Tyrants Serenade. It moves a lot slower than that song. Now there's some moments of energy as far as the track is concerned, specifically in the last third of the song, and even when you get into the chorus, but overall it just feels like a very methodic track, like you're stuck in quicksand. With every step that you try to take, you sink even deeper. It just has that kind of a vibe. It just moves really slow. Intertwining a melodic riff within the structure of the song, it softens the blow a little bit. It softens that slugginess that the track has, but it also adds this haunting nature to the song. It adds this haunting vibe to the track that's really well reflected also in the vocal delivery and how those vocals really hit the track and the music behind it. It's a track that has a great guitar sound all around. The solos really exemplify that great quality of guitar sound, and they also exemplify a lot of the hauntingness that exists within the melody of the song, within the overall essence of the track. I really love the dynamics of this song, or the lack of, and that slow movement really allows this to be a slow burning song all the way through. Even though, like I said, there are some moments of energy, there are some bursts within the track, specifically in the last third, but overall that doesn't take anything away from how slow moving the track overall is. And then you have the polar opposite with Sirens. Sirens is a track that has a great guitar sound, great guitar riff, way more driven, way more open, almost more like of a rock goth song with metal elements around it, and feels and sounds a little bit like a Metallica track as well. There's a little bit of Metallica into this song, not just in the sound, but even in the vocal delivery as well. It's a more direct, it's a more fluid, a more straightforward song beginning to end. It doesn't have necessarily some of that more slower, doomier element into it. There is perhaps some doom elements, but that's more as far as the atmosphere of the song is concerned. As far as the sound, feels a lot more like a rock goth song, straightforward, to the point, very dynamic, both musically and vocally, and always moving forward. This is it, Paradise Lost with Ascension, out September 19th on Nuclear Blast. Let me know your thoughts on the band, on the singles. Hit me up in the comment section, and I'll see you all at the next video. Take care, guys.